He was the most feared mafia king in Korea, playing with women's hearts like a cruel game until he met the one woman who refused to bow. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this unforgettable story of power, danger, and a love that changed everything. The streets of Seoul whispered one name: Jun. He was the mafia king, the kind of man even the police feared. People said he could end lives with just a word. His men followed him like shadows, and his enemies bowed before him or vanished forever. Jun was tall, sharp, and had eyes as cold as winter rain. But what made people fear him most wasn't his guns or his power. It was the way he played with hearts. Women wanted him. They saw his luxury cars, his sharp suits, his money, and his power. And Jun knew it. He would smile, take them close, whisper sweet things, then throw them away like used cards. Love, he once laughed to his men. Love is for fools. Women are just a game. And for years, that was how he lived. Until the night he saw her. It was at a high-end party in Gangnam. The music was loud, diamonds sparkled on necks, and expensive perfume filled the air. Jun walked in, and as usual, the room froze. All eyes turned to him. Women smiled, men lowered their voices. That's when he saw her. She was different. Her skin was smooth and deep brown, glowing under the lights. Her hair framed her face like a crown, and her eyes were strong, not shy, not weak, not begging. Her name was Alicia, a black woman living in Korea. Jun's lips curved into his dangerous smile. He was used to women looking at him with hunger. But Alicia looked at him as if he was just another man. Nothing special. Nothing powerful. That made his heart skip. Something he never felt before. He moved closer. "Do you know who I am?" he asked softly, his voice carrying danger. Alicia turned, raised her brow, and sipped her drink. "Should I care?" The air froze. His men, standing near, exchanged shocked glances. No woman had ever spoken to Jun like that. Jun chuckled. "Most women don't dare to look me in the eye." Alicia tilted her head, her voice calm but sharp. "Not every woman is afraid of you." It was like a knife to his chest, not of pain, but something new, something strange. For the first time, the Mafia king felt weak. That night, Jun couldn't sleep. He thought of her eyes, her voice, her words. His mind, usually filled with guns, money, and plans, now played only one scene, the way Alicia looked straight at him without fear. He hated it. He loved it. He needed her. But Alicia wasn't like the other women. She didn't come running. She didn't chase him. She didn't care about his cars, his suits, or his power. And that drove him mad. Jun was a man used to controlling everything. But for the first time, he couldn't control his own heart. He needed to win her to himself. It was like a challenge, so the next day, he sent her flowers. Red roses. Dozens. Alicia sent them back. He invited her to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in Seoul. She didn't show up. He even sent his men to escort her. But when they returned, they were bruised and embarrassed. Alicia had told them, "Tell your boss I'm not one of his toys." Jun's men laughed behind his back. His rivals whispered, "The king is falling." But Jun didn't care. For the first time in his life, he wasn't the hunter. He was the prey. Alicia wasn't cruel. She wasn't arrogant. She was just herself. She worked as a fashion designer in Itaewon, sewing clothes with her own hands. She lived a simple life. "Why should I fear you?" she asked him one day when he finally met her at her small shop. "Your world is dark. Mine is not. I don't want your money. I don't want your gifts. I just want peace." Jun leaned against the wall, his voice low. "And what if peace is the only thing I can't give you?" She looked at him, her eyes soft but firm. "Then stay away." But Jun couldn't. Weeks passed. And this wasn't a challenge to Jun anymore. He wanted her. Jun found himself visiting Alicia's shop in secret. Sometimes he just sits inside his car watching her work, sewing with calm hands, humming to herself. For the first time in his life, he wanted to be more than a king. He wanted to be a man. Her man. But love is dangerous when you are the Mafia king. And soon, everyone knew about Alicia. His rivals saw her as a weakness. His own men whispered about it. His family, an old Mafia dynasty, despised her. "She is not Korean. She is not one of us," his uncle spat. "You bring shame to our blood." But June didn't listen. His heart, once frozen, was now on fire. One night, when the streets of Seoul glowed with neon, June got the call. Alicia was gone. Kidnapped. His blood turned to ice. A rival gang had taken her. They wanted to break him, to remind him that kings don't love. But they didn't know Alicia. When they threatened her, she didn't cry. When they shouted, she stood tall. "You think I fear you," she said, her voice steady. "I've faced worse than men with guns." Her courage shocked them. And when June stormed in with guns, enemies bowed to his feet. He didn't just find a woman in need of saving. He found a queen standing strong. As he held her, his heart racing, he whispered, "You are not like the others." And for the first time, his cold eyes melted. Alicia smiled faintly. "I told you. Not every woman is afraid of you." In that moment, June knew. He could never go back. She had changed him forever. From that night on, June was no longer just the Mafia king who ruled by fear. He was the man who had been conquered by love. His men mocked him. His family rejected her. His enemies circled like wolves. But June didn't care. He stood before them all and said, "I have played with many hearts, but only one woman ever stole mine." And he meant it. The city of Seoul didn't sleep that night. Every gang whispered the same thing. The king has a weakness. A woman. June had built his empire on fear. No one dared cross him. But now, with Alicia by his side, his rivals felt bold. They thought they could break him by breaking her. Alicia knew this. She told him many times, "Your world is full of blood and shadows. If I stay, I become a target. If I leave, I break your heart." June's joy tightened. "If you leave, I am no king. I am nothing." His men were divided. Some believed Alicia had bewitched him. Others thought she was his undoing. His uncle, who had raised him in the Mafia, was furious. Love makes you weak, and weakness kills kings. But June didn't care. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of death. He was afraid of losing Alicia. Alicia wasn't blind. She saw the stares, heard the whispers. But she never bowed her head. She carried herself like a queen, walking beside June in his black car. She was already in love, and not because he forced her with his charms. Her heart insisted. She stood tall even when danger circled. One evening, as the neon lights painted the streets, June took her to his secret rooftop. The whole city stretched before them. "I was born into this world," he confessed. "Blood, guns, money. I never chose it. But you make me want something different." Alicia turned to him, her eyes glowing. "Then choose. Not for me. For yourself." Her words cut deep. June had ruled all his life, but he had never truly chosen. He was trapped in a world built for him by others. And for the first time, the Mafia king thought about freedom. But freedom comes at a cost. Days later, his enemies struck again. They didn't take Alicia this time. They attacked his men. They burned his warehouses. They hit his empire where it hurt. His council gathered, demanding action. "You're distracted," they shouted. "This woman will destroy everything." June stood at the head of the table, his voice calm but sharp. "If anyone here touches Alicia, even with a word, they die." The room fell silent. No one had ever heard him speak with such fire. His uncle slammed the table. "She will bring us all down." June's eyes turned cold. "Then let the empire fall." But she stays. Alicia saw the war building around them. She wanted to leave, to keep him safe. But June wouldn't let her. "You don't understand," he said, gripping her hand. "They can take my crown, my empire, my life. But if they take you, I will burn this city to the ground." Alicia's chest tightened. She had never been anyone's weakness before. But now she was his strength too. One night, she sat sewing in her little shop when two men in black entered. They didn't attack. They didn't threaten. They just placed an envelope on her table. Inside was a photo. June, bound, beaten, and a note. "If you love him, come alone." Alicia's heart raced. It was a trap. She knew it. But she couldn't sit and wait. Not when the man who had turned the world upside down for her was in danger. She took the note, locked her shop, and disappeared into the night. The warehouse was dark, lit only by a single bulb. June was there, chained, but his eyes still burning. "You shouldn't have come," he whispered when he saw her. The rival boss stepped out of the shadows. "So this is the queen who tamed the king." He smiled coldly. "Shall we see how strong your love really is?" The rival boss circled Alicia like a wolf. "You think you are special? You think a king can change for a woman like you?" Alicia stood tall. Her heart pounded, but her eyes never dropped. "I don't think." "I know." The men around laughed, their guns gleaming under the dim light. June, chained, tried to break free, his voice low but deadly. "Touch her, and I will kill you all." The boss smirked. "You? Look at yourself, June. You are broken. Weak. This woman ruined you." But Alicia didn't flinch. She stepped closer to June, even as the men blocked her path. "You don't understand," she said firmly. "You call him weak, but it takes strength to love. And that's something you will never know." Her words silenced the room for a moment. Even June bound, felt his chest tighten. The boss snapped his fingers. Two men grabbed Alicia, forcing her to her knees. "Let's see if love can save you now." June roared, chains rattling, his veins bulging. He had faced knives, bullets, betrayal, but nothing broke him like seeing Alicia in danger. "Kill me," he shouted. "Leave her out of this. This is between us." The boss laughed. "No, June. This is about teaching you that kings cannot love." Alicia's eyes burned with fire. She spat at the boss's feet. "You can chain him. You can threaten me. But you will never break us." The room erupted in chaos when suddenly, a gunshot cracked the air. One of June's loyal men, hidden in the rafters, had fired. Panic exploded. Bullets flew, men ducked, shouts filled the warehouse. June's chains were cut loose in the chaos. He lunged forward, grabbing a gun from a fallen guard, his cold fury unleashed. One by one, enemies fell. Alicia crawled to safety, but her eyes never left him. She watched a man who was once just a feared Mafia king fight like a storm, not for power, not for money, but for her. When it was over, silence hung heavy. The rival boss lay defeated, his men scattered. June dropped the gun, his chest heaving, and turned to Alicia. He knelt before her, his voice shaking. "I swore I would never love. But you broke me. You made me alive." Alicia touched his face gently. "And you made me believe even monsters can love." From that night, Seoul was never the same. Rumors spread fast. The king had a queen. Some laughed. Some feared it. Some wanted them dead. But June didn't care. He held Alicia's hand in public, walked beside her through streets where even shadows bowed to him. His uncle called it shame. His enemies called it weakness. But June called it truth. Still, Alicia knew the war wasn't over. Love in the Mafia world wasn't a fairy tale. It was a fire that burned everything around it. And deep inside, she wondered, could June ever truly escape his world for her? June sat in silence in his dark office, the city lights glowing through the window. His empire stretched before him, but for the first time, it felt like a prison. Stacks of money lay on the table. Guns lined the walls. His men waited outside for orders. But none of it mattered anymore. He thought of Alicia, her laughter, her strength, the way she stood tall even when guns pointed at her. "I can't lose her," he whispered. But to keep her, he knew what he had to do. He had to walk away. The next morning, he gathered his council. Old men who had served his family for decades. Their eyes were sharp, their suits dark, their loyalty chained to tradition. "I'm stepping down," June said calmly. The room exploded. "You can't. Without you, we fall apart. You disgrace your father's name." June slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed like thunder. "I have ruled with fear long enough. But what has it given me? Nothing. Now I choose love." His uncle's face turned red. For a foreign woman? For her. June's eyes went cold. For my queen. Outside, Alicia waited in his car. When June slid in beside her, his jaw tight, she asked softly, "What happened?" "I burned the bridge," he said. I walked away. Alicia's breath caught. She knew how much this world had defined him, but he had done it for her. You didn't have to, she whispered. I did, he replied, taking her hand. Because with you, I finally have something worth more than all of this. But leaving the Mafia was not so simple. Enemies smelled weakness. Rivals circled, ready to take his throne. Even his own men were divided, some loyal, some hungry for power. Alicia saw it clearly. If June stepped down, they would be hunted. Unless she stood with him. She looked at him one night, her eyes fierce. You gave up your crown for me, but I will not let your enemies tear us apart. If I am your queen, then I must stand beside you, not behind you. June's heart pounded. Alicia, this world is poison. I wanted to free you from it. She shook her head. You didn't free me. You gave me a choice, and I choose to fight with you. Slowly, Alicia began to shape her place in his world. Not as a mistress, not as a shadow, but as a leader. She visited the neighborhoods June once ruled with fear, speaking to the women, the children, the families. She gave them hope where he had given them silence. People began to whisper, not just about the king, but about the queen who walked with courage. She is not like him, they said. She has fire in her eyes. She has kindness in her hands. Even June's men, who once doubted her, began to bow their heads with respect. One night, as they stood on the rooftop again, the city glowing below, June looked at Alicia with a rare softness. You are not just my love. You are becoming their queen. Alicia smiled faintly. Then let's rule differently. Not with fear. With strength and heart. June pulled her close, whispering, you turned a monster into a man. And now you are turning a king into something greater. But deep down, both of them knew. The Mafia world would not let them go so easily. Enemies were rising. And their love, though fierce, would be tested like never before. The streets of Seoul grew restless. Word spread fast, June was leaving the Mafia. His rivals celebrated too soon. They thought his empire would crumble. His uncle whispered to men in the shadows, promising them riches if they turned against him. But for Alicia, she didn't hide. She didn't run. She walked into June's old world with her chin high and her eyes sharp. At first, they laughed. The king's woman thinks she is queen. But soon, the laughter faded. One afternoon, June's enemies tried to extort a small marketplace in Itaewon, the same place Alicia often visited. They shouted at the women, smashed stalls, demanded money. Alicia walked right into the chaos. Leave them, she said firmly. The men sneered. And who are you to command us? She didn't flinch. She looked them in the eye, just as she once looked at June. I am the woman you fear without knowing why. I am the queen who stands beside June. And if you lay one more hand here, you will not see tomorrow. The crowd gasped. The men hesitated. No gun in her hand, no army behind her, just her fire. And strangely, they stepped back. That night, the market women whispered, she is different. She is brave. She is ours. June watched her from the shadows. He had followed, ready to protect her, but she had handled it without him. For the first time, he realized she wasn't just surviving in his world, she was shaping it. You are stronger than you know, he told her later. Alicia touched his cheek gently. I am strong because I have something worth fighting for. You. But June shook his head. No, Alicia. You are strong because you were always meant to be more than just mine. Weeks passed and Alicia's influence grew. She visited schools, helping children of the streets. She gave food to widows of fallen men. She spoke to June's soldiers not with threats, but with hope. Slowly, the men who once mocked her began calling her Nuri the Light. Even June's fiercest rivals began to whisper her name. She was no longer just the king's weakness. She was becoming his shield. But her rise brought danger. One night, as she left her shop, a black car pulled up. Masked men stepped out, guns raised. You think you can be queen? One spat. You're nothing but a foreign woman. Alicia's heart pounded, but she stood tall. If I were nothing, you wouldn't be here trying to silence me. The men hesitated, but before they could act, June's loyal soldiers stormed in. Bullets cracked the air, tires screeched, and the attackers fled. Alicia didn't run. She didn't hide. She stood in the street with smoke rising, her chin high. And the men who saved her knelt. "You are truly our queen." That night, June held her close, his voice heavy. "I fought all my life to be feared. But you're loved. That makes you greater than me." Alicia's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Then let us rebuild. Not an empire of blood, but one of respect." June nodded slowly. Together. Months later, Seoul was different. The gunfire faded. The fear softened. June and Alicia built something new, not an empire of shadows, but of strength and respect. She opened a center for children of the streets. He funded it with the same money once used for blood. Together, they created hope where there had once been silence. When people spoke of June now, they didn't just whisper of a mafia king. They spoke of a man reborn by love. And when they spoke of Alicia, they didn't just call her the foreign woman. They called her the queen who changed the king. One evening, under the golden glow of the Seoul skyline, June held Alicia close. His voice was soft, trembling with truth. "I once thought women were just a game. But you were the ending I never knew I needed." Alicia smiled, her head resting on his chest. "And you were the beginning I never knew I deserved." The city lights sparkled around them, but the brightest light was the one between them, a love that survived bullets, betrayal, and fear. The Mafia king who once ruled with coldness had bowed to something far greater. Love. And beside him, forever, stood his queen. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories.